All right.
So we'll call the meeting to order. This is the Stoughton City Council meeting, August 9th, 2022. First order of business is the roll call.
We're just going to go with listed names. Mayor Swadley is absent and excused. Caravello,
Here?
Hiley,
I see him.
Yep, he was on last meeting.
okay.
I don't think you can hear us in the room there.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Hirsch,
Here, can you hear me?
yes. Hunt,
Here?
Jensen,
Here.
Legacki,
Here.
Mayuski,
Here.
Reeves,
Here.
Schumacher,
Here.
Tukalski,
Here.
Venegas,
Here.
Raff.
Here.
Okay, we've got a quorum.
All right.
So I'm going to turn this over to President Hirsch, but we'll be tag teaming because she's remote this evening. So I'm going to help be the eyes and ears if there's questions. I'll help direct. So President Hirsch, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Lisa, for starting the meeting, and thanks everybody for dealing with us as we kind of muddle through being the substitute mayors. And I can't be there in person because I was exposed to COVID this week, so I want to keep you guys all safe. First, I want to welcome Rachel back. It's great to see your face again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Good to be back.
it's good to have you back. So I think the first item on the agenda, besides roll call, the minutes and reports are in your packet, but public comment. Dave, do you know if there's anybody that has signed up for the public comment period?
I have not heard of any.
Dave, there was a community person who did want to sign, and we did not see the sign up out there.
Okay,
There is one person who did want to speak, and she still wants to speak.
okay.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
If you
They
can,
can come on up and state their name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Dave, do you want a time?
sure.
Good evening. I am Teresa Bergeson Galoon. I live at 916 Riverview Drive here in Stoughton. And I'm here tonight first to speak as a community member with a family, but also I'm a member of the DEI task force as well. And I just wanted to share, just keep it very brief. My family, my wife and I moved here from Milwaukee about 8 years ago. And our children are biracial. And we love Stoughton. We enjoy living here. As they've grown up, though, we've gone through some really tough stuff as a same-sex family and as parents of children of color. And so my son has spent the last few years at River Bluff. My daughter is a sixth grader, about to head there. And after witnessing what's been going on to our family for the last few years, we've opted to open enroll. And neither child will be attending Stoughton school districts this coming semester, and we feel actually really unfortunate about that. I am hopeful, though, that you guys are doing this kind of, call for the money request and have a lot of great ideas out there that I think that might keep us connected and not make us want to go any further than that and come back to the schools. Because I know there's quality teachers in those hallways. We've seen those as well. And so I'm just hoping everyone has their thoughtful decision-making brains on tonight and consider families like myself who are here asking for your help. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Lisa, I get you to write down your name and address, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the community that would like to speak tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. The next agenda is communications and presentations. Does any elder have any communications at this time? And then we'll get to presentations. Go ahead, Joyce.
I actually had a change to the minutes from public safety.
which is number 2, and is that possible?
Sure.
Okay, it's a small one, but in item 2 of the public safety minutes, there is the word accepted, EXCEPTED, and it should be accepted, ACCEPTED, and it changes the meaning quite a bit, so I thought I'd mention it. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was for Public Works or Public Safety?
Public safety.
Okay. And Dave, did you get that?
Yes, I'll track down the minutes and we'll get it corrected.
Thank you. Is there any other communications, whether it's minutes or anything else from the council at this time? I can't see anybody's hands up, so Lisa will have to help me out in the room.
Nope, I don't see any other hands up.
Okay, great. All right, so the next is a presentation by the DEI committee. Update. Alder Lagaki.
Thank
Take
you.
the floor.
Thank you very much. What I'm about to say, we have in written form for you that will include and forward to Candy, so just to let you know that. But I'm just going to kind of talk through the high points of what this simple update to you guys is for the DEI task force. First of all, we just want to express gratitude, so much gratitude to Mayor Swadley, the CACP committee, and the whole council, because we were able to get established and going in April of 2022. So we are here for our quarterly report. And here's some basics about us. We are 16 appointed members by Mayor Swadley, and tonight we are welcoming Brett Schumacher to our group as well. And we've also had community members come join us independently of being appointed or not, and they've wanted to contribute what they can on both general and specific topics. But we have taken very seriously our charge to produce a strategic plan. It's anticipated that we're going to help provide a strategic plan to the council by late 2023 and early 2024 for hopefully adoption by the city, at least for discussion as well. The thing about the Stoughton DEI task force is that we're utilizing a unique format, and we're taking a grassroots approach to this while operating within the city structures and open meetings law, hopefully resulting with transparency and inclusion. And we, again, always want to say, all council members, all citizens, anyone who cares about this area and what we'll be discussing, you are always welcome to join us, because we're always stronger with more voices. But in getting organized, that was a little creative, because this grassroots approach really isn't naturally fitting into Robert's Rules of Order and open meetings laws, and we've really tried to be very true to that, and yet bring forth and get as many people who perhaps we might not be able to attract through the more normative council ways. And that's been very interesting. So what we did at first is we initiated a visual mind map, because this is a heck of a project to wrap your head around. And so that has helped us in planning and ensure that our task members are recognizing the Stoughton area groups and our initiatives, both formal and informal. It is my hope by the end of this that we have a pretty good comprehensive listing of how we're all connected and what we're doing around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so once we were organized, we self-organized around 5 areas. And I'm just going to tell you about those 5 areas, and then I'm going to be done talking. Our first area was awareness and education, events, financial budget, which is in the works, schools, which we're forming relationships and in the works, and a strategic plan. Starting with awareness and education, we've started with undergoing our own reflection and doing a DEI survey of our own, for us to understand our own experiences and how we relate to each other. And we think by us having a common language, some common understandings together, that will give us a base to go forward and survey city staff and our community members. So awareness and education is really the heart of the matter of DEI. It tells stories. It amplifies voices of people's voices that sometimes get overlooked, and it's absolutely integral to what we are doing. And that is why some of the members of our group will be asking for specific funding in tonight's ARPA's request. And we've begun discussing 2023 opportunities with Mosaicos. Regarding events, we've begun to have a presence out there. We have joined with Eyes of Hope, Girl to Girl, Families for Equity, Mosaicos, the Stoughton Resettlement Assistant Program known as SRAP, and the Undivided, a high school organization here at Stoughton High School. And we co-sponsored resource tables at Set and Demai and Juneteenth celebration. An article was co-authored on these events by our group with the Courier Hub. And we're focused on October 10th, Indigenous Peoples Day, as another opportunity to recognize and celebrate our community and our neighbors. Regarding financial and budget, well, we don't really have one. But we appreciate the opportunity for tonight's ARPA request and any future council actions taken to help us establish a budget for our time-limited venture. Regarding schools, again, we're not totally active, but we are really working to establish a relationship with Stoughton area school district staff and school board members. We welcome Joe Fry. He's our SASD board member with the city linked to our meetings and work. We are encouraged the district is discussing creating a DEI coordinator position within the district and the informal growing groups of Families for Equity and the Undivided. Lastly, our strategic plan. To inform our plan, we've drafted a city survey for city staff, and we're working with Director Cunningham and Mayor Swadley to implement it hopefully early this fall. Mayor Swadley and IT are adding options for us to the city website so our work can be shared with invested community members, and we envision crafting that strategic plan both for city departments and committees, as well as reflecting on the city as a whole in partnership with our community organizations like Citywide Stoughton Health, the Chamber, the Stoughton Wellness Coalition, Stoughton Health. So, in keeping with that, that's our basic update. You'll get the written. And we meet the first Wednesday of the month from 6:30 to 8 p.m. as a whole. We've established those 5 different work groups, and we'll be noticing those, though we only have 4 members attending those, and as well as non-appointed members working with us. We think those might work well on the second Wednesday of the month. Thank you for this chance to update you, and we'll probably have another update in December or January.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Lagaki. That was really good to hear what you're up to. Next on the agenda are the beginning of the American Rescue Plan Act. But before we begin, Alder Reeves and I were talking, I guess, last week, and we really want to make sure that the ideas from how we were proceeding reflect how the council really wants to proceed. Our idea going forward with how we had initially started this was to invite community members and city departments to give us presentations of potential funding requests. And then after that, we would work as a group to put all those funding requests together, have a community of the whole meeting or meetings to decide which of these proposals we'd like to fund using this ARPA fund. that was the initial, what we were going towards. The other option is to vote on these independently prior to, putting everything together. So I guess we're at this kind of point where I just want to make sure that we're going in the direction that the council wants, or if you want us to go in a different direction. And Elder Reeves, is there anything else that I should be asking?
Well, I think one of the questions we had was whether or not, availability for a committee of the whole, if that's the route that we wanted to take, because that is another meeting. And, the budget is underway and we have department heads who are trying to put together their CIP. So if we were to put together a committee of the whole that's a separate meeting, we'd have to do it pretty quickly. And, whether or not we put out a doodle poll, but the other option is to, just have those conversations in a council meeting. And obviously, I think we still need to set up some parameters around what that's going to look like. And I have chatted with Mayor Swadley and President Hirsch over the past few days about what that might look like. But I think the first question is getting a consensus of, trying to get it done during a council meeting or a committee of the whole meeting. And so we're interested in hearing what you all think about that.
I'd be okay with scheduling a committee of the whole meeting to focus on the ARPA.
And who is that? I couldn't see who.
Phil,
Phil? Thanks, Phil.
I agree with that. I mean, I think a committee of the whole would be, because it really sets aside time that we're just specifically considering that issue and not having to worry about rushing through that and getting to our other issues that we have during a regular business meeting. I mean, the only way I can see is if we might have a lighter council meeting schedule that we might be able to do that, but otherwise, I mean, people put a lot of effort into getting these presentations and getting their work noticed and potentially funded, and I think that we should also put that kind of effort forward too.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is something that's deserves our full attention, and so I think a committee of the whole meeting is appropriate.
Agree.
Anyone who's, any council members that are in the Zoom meeting that would like to share your ideas?
I'm fine with the meeting of the committee of the whole. I think
Same
that's
here.
So any other?
I'm very
Magaki?
excited about this consideration, so thank you for bringing this forward. I think a committee of the whole meeting is the right environment for this, and I look forward to us talking about, as we've listened to the presentations, perhaps how we help make good decisions, and then perhaps allow the groups, once they understand what that is, perhaps that they may want to revisit a few things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, can I add one more thing? I think then, if we do that as a committee of the whole, then I think, as you were saying, the parameters surrounding how we're scoring, ranking, looking at evaluating these presentations becomes a lot more critical to have that set of parameters in mind or really set before that. Another would be, and I know this is one we talked about briefly in finance, would be how we go about on that disbursement.
Right.
Because we haven't made any, is it all in one deal? Is it one part, what first tranche, second tranche, split it differently than that?
Yeah, and those are some
Ground
of,
rules, I think,
yeah.
are pretty important.
yeah, and that's part of the question is, do we allocate half, for instance? That's just throwing that out because perhaps someone missed that opportunity or something happens with, budget or, so that we have some flexibility. And, the reality is the requests are going to exceed the funds available. So we really need to have a thoughtful discussion about what, some of that criteria and how we want to make those decisions. And that's going to require some homework from some of us on the front end before we even meet, Director of Finance and the mayor, myself, and perhaps, we'll have to talk about that.
Just to comment, the requests are approximately $1 million over the available fund.
And
That's not as
I
bad
know
as
I
I
wa-
thought.
Great, go ahead, Frank.
I wasn't around, you guys know this, but just like in 5 seconds, when are we hoping to make the decisions about the ARPA money, and how much total funds are there that we are considering? That would help me as these presentations go.
Well, I'll start with the net amount available. Right now, it's about $1.1 million. I can't answer when the council wants to make a decision by, but under the federal legislation, we have to have the funds appropriated by the end of '24 and actually dispersed by the end of '26.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Frank, yeah, to answer your question, we haven't set the date. We, because there's need, we just have to use it within the next 4 years. And so that was some upfront people were, when the money first came available, when the pandemic was really ravaging, we were thinking of trying to make the decision quicker, but now that things are kind of flattened out, doesn't mean the need isn't as dire. It just means that we might be able to take a little bit more time and be thoughtful of how we want to spend this limited funds. And so that's where we are right now.
And so the council,
I believe Alter Hunt had a question as well.
I would agree with the committee of the whole, but I think prior to that, we maybe should have a item on our regular agenda where we discuss the parameters and get them solidified before we actually go to the committee of the whole.
I agree. I think that's a good idea.
Right. I think Elder Reeves and I will be meeting with Dave and the mayor and coming up with some parameters, and then we will pass them all to you and ask for comments and suggestions. It's a lot easier if a group of people, brainstorm, and then it's easier to edit and brainstorm versus just our large group kind of just coming together. Unless, you guys want to send Dave your ideas, you can't send them to me. That'll be like a walking forum, and we don't want that. But if you have ideas of how best to rank these or set parameters, get them to Dave within the next week.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing, we'll have to, I sort of alluded to this, but one of the benefits of not necessarily spending everything up front is at some point we need to, say, okay, for this allocation, the presentations, we need to be done with the presentation so we can make some decisions, but then perhaps give others opportunities. So I think that's kind of part of what we need to have a discussion about too, so that we're not, scheduling things into the fall. If the council would like to allocate funds sooner rather than later, and get moving on it, then we need to, maybe cut off some of the presentations and then, at least for the initial requests. So again, those are some of the things we have to, if we're scheduling a presentation for January and not making any decisions, if that's what the council wants to do, but that's part of, if you have some thoughts about that,
Just a comment, I am not aware of any other presentation requests at this point. So at this point, we could cut off if that's what the council wishes to do.
So I did see
I
one
know
for
that.
October 9th. Was that a typo?
It must have been a typo.
For
don't-
the neighborhood health, free health clinic, I thought that said October 9th, so maybe that meant,
That's a typo. It should be August 9th.
Okay, good.
She gave just a overview of their request. I don't remember a dollar value for that organization, though.
that's helpful, because I
Okay,
thought we were shooting for August. All right.
yeah.
I do know that the Sustainability Committee, we have been planning to have some sort of policy-based funding request rather than just the community outreach. Whether we do that before or after the survey, I think would depend on the council's decision about how we want to, if we want to wrap up our allocation early or later.
Okay. And the other question is to start thinking about, we've had a number of nonprofits submit an application, and earlier in the presentations, we had the Stoughton Community Foundation give a presentation that could possibly be like the umbrella organization where we funnel money to them and then they give out awards to the nonprofits, and they have a separate thing instead of the city having to do that. So that's another kind of question we have up there as well. And so there's a lot to think about. I mean, this is a very complicated issue, and as Alder Reeves and Alder Lagaki have said previously, we want to do it right, we want to do it fair, and we want to have good parameters that, you know, on how we make decisions, so, you know, it doesn't come into question later.
And I don't see any hands up in the room. Are there any other questions from anyone in the room or on the Zoom from council members? All right, I think it's back to you then, President Hirsch.
Nope, it's back to Dave with the fiscal recap. I'll just keep on throwing the mic around.
Well, the document that you have in the packet's already outdated. Like I said, we're approaching $1 million more requested than is available.
And then, so I'm not 100% sure who we have in the room, so I can help guide with that. The presentations we have this evening are not necessarily all here that are listed on the agenda, so.
Correct, and if whatever documentation they gave me, I included in the packet, so we've got Rodney driving tonight, so whenever he's ready, we can go to the Stoughton Redevelopment Assistance Program. At this point, I have not gotten anything from AJ in regards to HR, so that might be coming yet too.
And I think that may actually be the Stoughton Resettlement Assistance Program.
You're right, I'm so used to typing Redevelopment Authority. My apologies.
And do we have anyone representing? Oh, if you'd like to come up.
Ready for us right now?
Yes,
Okay,
yep,
thanks.
go right ahead. And if you'd like to, I believe Director Shield can, there we go.
That's me. Rodney, do you want to drive or should I?
Your mic is off, maybe?
I guess I'm driving.
Okay.
Hang on, let me share my desktop for a minute here, please.
I think I have it on the screen, don't I, Dave?
Yes, you do. Okay, I just have to have your screen up so it displays. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right. You folks can go ahead, and then if when it's time to advance the screen, just let us know.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for letting us present here today. My name is Kay Whedon, and this is Renee Lushai, and we are two of the trio for the Stoughton Resettlement Assistance Program. And we'd like to, again, say thank you for letting us be part of this presentation. So the threat of war had been looming for months, and the Petrenko family held out hope that the Ukrainian military was going to hold their country. They'd be able to stay. That's where they lived. They had their home, their children were being raised there. They owned a business downtown. They had pets, their family, their parents lived there. But on a dark night, the bombs started to fall, and they realized that they just could not stay there any longer. And so they fled to Poland and then eventually into Croatia. Millions of people had already done that from Ukraine, and so staying in any of those overcrowded countries just proved to be impossible. So they sold all their belongings, and with their money, they bought tickets to the United States. And the U.S. government had invited the Ukrainian people to come to the United States. They crossed the border into Texas, and then through the grace of a couple of Harvard graduates who had concocted a program connecting people from Ukraine with Americans here that wanted to host them, they ended up in Middleton. And then through that course of conversation with this woman in Middleton and the development of our group, she asked whether or not we had any assistance. And we did. We were ready for them. And that is kind of where our group is right now. But the Stoughton Resettlement Assistance Program, and that is the next slide, didn't start that way. We started in December of 2021, and we were planning to work with Afghan refugees that were being housed at many of the military bases around the nation. We formed an alliance of 15 different people in our community, and working with Lutheran Social Services, which is a resettlement agency. We were finding housing, we were looking for employment, we were working with the schools, and we were determined that we were going to make a difference and start to bring some of these people into our communities. All refugees that come through resettlement agencies come with the right to work, a permit immediately to work, and they get resettlement funding. And so we figured that once we found the housing, we would only be paying for a couple of months' rent. They would get a job and start to cover, part of the expenses. But then suddenly the military closed all the bases. The Afghans were scattered to the coasts, and we were left with a couple of apartments and nobody in them. And we kept thinking something was going to happen. And that's when that request came from this family. Could we help? We had apartments, so we settled a family. And then we had another request, and we settled another family. And then just over this past weekend, we resettled 2 new families. So we now have 4 Ukrainian families that are living here in Stoughton. And they are not under the same refugee status as any other refugee. They do not receive permits to work. They don't receive any resettlement money. They may or may not be eligible for health care depending on which state and in which community they are. And so they need our help. And so we began as a more short-term, less financially dependent organization, but now we've changed. We've become a solid collective of individuals who are dedicated to helping these families and any other refugee families that need resettlement here in our community. Our mission is to assist them resettle here in South Central Wisconsin, particularly Stoughton, and to do this with dignity and promote stability, economic opportunity, and independence in these communities. And our vision is that all of us, the community and any refugees that we are able to resettle here, will enjoy a safe, meaningful life in our welcoming community of Stoughton, and that we will celebrate as a community their culture and respect their human rights. And we aren't doing this ourselves. It really does take a village. And could we go to the next slide?
So there are many different things that we provide and continue to provide that meets all of the basic needs of the refugees who need to care for their families over here without the ability to work. Meeting these needs has taken a significant amount of collaboration and resources over the last several months. The main need that we have and the highest expense, of course, is rent and housing for the families. Our groups organize and accept community donations to assemble fully furnished and move-in ready homes, apartments and homes that provide everything from Band-Aids and batteries to couches and beds. We cover utilities, heating, gas, water for 4 apartments and homes, which is also a significant expense that we are covering at this time. There's also food and essentials that the families need. So in addition to the use of the 2 community food banks, clothing pantry and the personal essential pantry, which have all been an excellent resource, and the families have been just speechless at the amount that they have received. We ensure that they also have additional funding for purchasing of other needs items that they might need. So we conduct thorough intakes with each family to fully assess their needs and different information regarding immigration status, medical attention they need. We look at, and then we continue to provide assistance for all of those things with health care, dental care, school registration, Social Security navigation, employment opportunities, ESL classes, and more. Transportation is another barrier that we are working through. Many of our 15-member group have graciously offered to drive people to these family members to different appointments. Thankfully, some of them were able to purchase their own vehicle with some savings they came over, and we've actually had 2 donors donate vehicles for these families. So that has greatly improved that situation. And then we also assist with immigration applications. All of that paperwork is daunting, and the deadlines are very important that they meet all of those deadlines. Next slide, please. So as Kay mentioned, we currently have 4 Ukrainian families with children who now call Stoughton their home. There are a total of 16 adults, 7 children, and 1 grandmother. All of the families have children. They've proven to be amazing people with beautiful families who were employed in Ukraine as teachers, electricians, professional musician, a medical service provider, truck driver, homemakers, and additional skills that are too many to list. They're eager and desperate to work to support their families. However, none of the adults currently have work permits. They're able to volunteer and accept donations, so our group has also been busy trying to find them things on the side they can do for donation amounts that they can then help support themselves as well. And they've done everything from mowing lawns to painting homes, moving furniture, you name it, and they're willing to do it. So waiting for the work permits has been the most challenging and frustrating part of this entire process. And we reached out to Senator Tammy Baldwin's office, and we have their assistance now in trying to expedite the work permits for 2 of the 4 families. As Kay said, the other 2 families recently resettled, so we're still getting them moved in. But we will help them next. We're hoping to expedite the work permits, and with the applications that we submitted, we included letters of support from several of the businesses in our town that are ready and waiting to hire them as soon as they can legally work in the U.S. They have jobs lined up for them. Next slide, please. So the community support we have received has been humbling and inspirational. We could not have accomplished all that we have without the generous support of hundreds of supporters. Individuals and families have donated furniture, household items, gift cards, monetary donations, and provided moving assistance. We have others who have helped within the community. We have community support of the missionaries from the Church of Latter-day Saints. They become like family members. Community organizations such as the Rotary, Lions Club, Stoughton Library, the food pantries. Several churches have donated various amounts, and the landlords who have rented to us without knowing the individuals going into these homes and they don't have credit history has been really critical. As well as Stoughton Trailers and local banks and Trek and Stoughton Lumber. Everyone is willing to help out. People have wanted to help the people of Ukraine, and through this effort, through SRAP, they can do something tangible to make a difference. They can see the difference in their lives. The gratitude is palpable when those families walk into that apartment or home for the first time and see that everything is ready to start living in again. 100% of the funds that we gather go to support these families in need, 100%. And as I had mentioned, we're working with an immigration attorney in Senator Tammy Baldwin's office, and we are prepared to get them jobs as soon as they're able to work, and then we are hoping to support more families. Next, please. So up on the screen is the request of the Arap Funds to assist this effort in giving the refugee families a chance to rebuild their lives in a welcoming and supportive community. As you can see from the chart, each month's cost, each month we have approximately $2,000 per family that we cover. The numbers provided are planning for the remainder of this year and then all of 2023 to support the 4 families we have and to help resettle an additional 4 to 8 refugee families with children. We will continue to fundraise and explore grant writing efforts. We have several fundraising efforts in the works already. We're not done fundraising. We've had community members who have done lemonade stands and garage sales to help support us, and we'll continue to do all of those efforts as well. We hope that resettling these refugees in Stoughton will increase our city's population, school enrollment, employees for our community businesses, and diversity in our community. Funding this program is a win for all of us.
And then the last slide.
Just shows that there are so many benefits to our community. As Stoughton becomes more diverse and more inclusive, welcoming refugees into our fold is just the way for our community to grow. And they're forming a connection with our community, whether they stay here or not, we don't know. They do have their own country that they would like to go back to, but there will be other refugees, and our hope is that we establish a program just like we did in the late 90s, bringing in the Albanian refugees, that we become a community that can do this over and over and over again, because it just makes a difference. And we believe that everyone in this effort is making a difference in all of our lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you. It's very heartwarming. Thank you for all that you do.
I believe the next on the agenda is Eyes of Hope. Do we have anyone here from Eyes of Hope?
Yes, Rodney, she just sent me a Google Doc tonight, so if I can take over sharing my screen, I'll have that one up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Laura Rovin, and I'm the Executive Director of the nonprofit Eyes of Hope. We've been supporting diversity, inclusion, and equitable programs in our community for 14 years. And I'm excited to share 3 programs that the ARPA funding will support. Next slide, please. Our longest standing program is Girl to Girl, and started because 6 graduates of 8th grade wanted continued support. And we have been going for 14 years. We have continued that support in our community. Next slide. At our weekly Girl to Girl programs, 3 adult volunteers mentor both high school and middle school girls. Next slide. Through fun, small group meetings, our girls learn to value themselves and become confident, strong women. Next slide. Our volunteer mentors provide stability and support, and we're proud of the 100% graduation rate that our girls have achieved, as well as ways that our students mentor and support the community by their service. Our budget for the Girl to Girl program is $5,000, which includes weekly crafts, snacks, and experiences during the school year. Next slide. So that is what I need for 2023 at the beginning of the school year. Next slide. COVID has increased and magnified the gaps and needs of our underrepresented students and families in Stoughton. Next slide. In an effort to positively respond to what the community is asking for, Eyes of Hope partnered with Mosaicos Cultural Enrichment to write a grant in the hope of offering a no-cost after-school program for elementary students this fall. Next slide. And we did it. We have written and received a grant through the Wisconsin Department of Health Services that will cover the costs of the after-school initiative for the first year. Next slide. Mosaicos has implemented a trial program at Bayview this summer that the after-school fall initiative will be built upon. It has been hugely successful and well received. Next slide. The beginning of October, our after-school initiative will serve approximately 50 elementary school children, K through 5, twice a week at each of these locations of Sandhill School, Kaganza Elementary, and Bayview Heights Mobile Home Park. Next slide. We're really excited that the town of Dunn is offering the storm shelter at Bayview for our services at Bayview Mobile Home Park. It's a great collaboration. Next slide. Important features of our program include, by the way, this is from our summer program, so all of these pictures were just taken. Include healthy snacks, academic support, social and emotional learning, arts, mentoring by adults as well as middle school and high school students. This is a multi-generational supportive program. And most importantly, play. We're designing everything around outdoor activities and playtime to accomplish that learning. Next slide. Elementary school students in grades K through 5 will be selected by school principals and recommendations based on academic, social and emotional, and economic needs. Next slide. So this program that we received funding for is $75,000 that starts October 2022 through May, and I am looking for this funding to cover the fall of next year to continue this program. All of this is in your packet. Next slide. Finally, the third program. Oh, that's the continuation. Sorry, next slide. So it's staff, training, stuff. So you can review that individually later. Next slide. So finally, we're excited to announce that Eyes of Hope is in partnership with Avant Academic Coaching and Consulting in Stoughton, and will soon be launching an online tutor program for all of the Stoughton area school district schools and students. Next slide. Oh, did I go too fast? I'm probably not aligned now. COVID has left many students behind in their academic learning, and Eyes of Hope recognizes the need for an easily accessible tutoring program for all youth in our community. This is an example of how our programs foster equitable solutions. Tutoring is a direct need of students and families, and this service is not provided in a way that is accessible for students whose families cannot pay for support. Eyes of Hope is taking a bold, equitable step to provide access to after-school programming, tutoring, and mentorship. Next slide. Well, that's interesting.
We're going to skip 20, 21, and 22.
Excellent. Through the partnership with Avant Academic Coaching and Consulting, tutors will be trained, and a database available for tutor support on an affordable sliding scale. So this is what will be created. This program will connect community volunteers who have reached out to say, I want to help Stoughton's youth. And we'll finally be able to put them through the tutoring program and background check and connect them with Zoom tutoring for direct Stoughton participation of volunteerism and Stoughton youth. So it's also supporting high school students who want to earn part-time, this part-time funding will carry them through their next steps, because once you're trained as a tutor, you have that skill that you can continue tutoring the rest of your life. So these students through Eyes of Hope will be trained and carry on this lifelong skill. Next slide. At Eyes of Hope, we have found that mentoring, connection, and belonging are the ingredients that we provide in our organization that work. We have been working hard the past 14 years providing programs that offer diversity, equity, and inclusion. We do this by connecting our programs to the community and our students with community members. We make this happen through relationship, and out of this relationship, we grow belonging in our town. So please consider that by partnering with us to help fund the mentorship and programming that will enable our youth to use their voices to change the world, you will help to build a legacy that will continue positive change for generations to come in Stoughton. I sent a one-page breakdown in the funding of the funding enclosed in the packet. The programs that I presented this evening are an exciting opportunity to fund equitable programs and give our students in Stoughton support that currently isn't available. Thank you for considering funding our programs. Are there questions about this before I sit back down?
I had a couple questions, because I actually have not been familiar with Eyes of Hope, so this, I may be a little bit ignorant, but, so you have, are you a 501(c)(3) then?
We are,
Okay.
yes.
And you've been in Stoughton for 14 years?
Correct.
Are you part of a regional, or this is strictly in Stoughton?
No, this was a grassroots that came up out of these 6 students who wanted to continue support and mentorship. So we created the 501(c)(3) to get nonprofit funding to support programming. And in the past, we've done Hope Arts, and we've paid for art lessons and access to artists in the community that is prohibited by cost. We've provided swimming lessons and the materials needed for sports equipments, and we partnered with the Hutchins Foundation to help continue the students having accessible funding through sports, through the Hutchins Foundation to play sports. So we've been working behind the scenes. Obviously, my talent is not marketing.
Well, so I did see that you recently received some money from the Community Foundation. Is that correct? Are you able to
The
share what that
Community
is?
Foundation
How much
is
that
so fantastic and supported our work for the last 14 years.
Okay.
And we receive between $3,000 and $5,000 annually from the foundation, and they are huge proponents of our work, and we are really grateful for that partnership.
And your other funding sources, then? It sounds like you have varied funding sources, grants?
We do.
or-
We have individual Stoughton community members that give charitably, and we apply for different grants. I'm currently in process with the Madison Community Foundation to apply for their granting agency. But as all of us are up here and all of your hard work, it's all that blood, sweat, and tears of volunteerism that's trying to pull support for our most vulnerable. And so I don't envy your position because we are doing amazing things in our community, and you are all included in that. What other questions do you have?
None for me. Other council members or anyone on the Zoom meeting?
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And
Rodney, you're back to driving. Thank you.
I think the next up is Stoughton DEI Task Force.
Hi, my name is Sarah Esmond, 118 North Forest. Been there for a little over 20 years with my husband, David, and I'm joined by the infamous Tess, who you saw earlier. We're representing the Stoughton Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. I have no PowerPoints. We are 4 months young, but we have some ideas to put in front of you in terms of what our members have thought about for ARPA funding. The first one is a big ticket item. $200,000 we're wondering about setting aside in some sort of interest-bearing account to extend the life of some of these funds to fill gaps for neighbors who have historically been excluded from or underrepresented in Stoughton's civic activities and may be at risk for experiencing preventable poor outcomes. We have no idea if that's possible or allowable with these funds, but we think it's important to think for the long term, especially for the reasons some of our colleagues have already, or our neighbors have already expressed, having the opportunity to fill gaps for people that may need a little extra support in a nimble way over time. A couple of specifics we have around that. We can envision our scholarships for our youth or adults who might be pursuing vocational, technical, or higher education opportunities and need a little boost in application fees or things that would help support their journey. Paying attention to interview or business wear for individuals who may be unable to access the necessary wardrobe for pursuing career options, and even small business grants for folks trying to start up businesses in Stoughton, especially post-COVID. That may just not have, I think one of our members mentioned overhearing a new business owner who wanted to join the chamber, or was encouraged to join the chamber, but was strapped for that startup membership fee, and sort of how could we think creatively about ways to bridge that for people that want to get engaged with the community while they start a business, but maybe aren't in a position to have all of the necessary startups. So those are some ideas for an endowment fund that we elected a name of Pathways for All. So that's our first idea. Second idea, I think, really speaks to some of what we've heard here tonight already, which is a lack of familiarity across all of us with some of the excellent things happening in our community. So we're asking for $30,000 around education and event support, really including enhanced marketing and branding for Stoughton so that we can lift up some of the stories that we've heard here tonight, get attention for some of the great work that Stoughton is doing in many different capacities. And we've broken that ask down for smaller chunks each year that there is money eligible. And then finally, $1,000 for a couple of software pieces that we're seeking to assist us with some of that branding marketing work, and also the ability to do the survey that Jean introduced earlier. Apparently SurveyMonkey license has run dry here in the city of Stoughton. We definitely don't want that. So we're looking for some support for some software. Our total request is $231,000. And I will invite Tess if there's anything further she wants to add. Yeah.
Along with, being a family here and a member of some really amazing communities, I care very much about Stoughton and have met some amazing people and would love to share their voices. And now there's even more people that need their voices told. And so I've, over 30 years, I've kind of straddled 2 careers, educator at the university in journalism and documentary storytelling, but I also have worked for like PBS, the Discovery Channel, and tried to find the most powerful people and ways to engage the world in small, simple ideas. And so I would love to have a chance to help Stoughton with that, and be able to bring out other voices as well of all the diversity that's in our city that very few people might even be aware of. And the great work that people have been doing for 14 years. I didn't know about Laura either until I started joining these groups of people that care. So,
Thank you, Tess. Thank you for the time tonight. Should I ask if you have questions? That was a really good move, Laura.
Any questions?
We put everything in the packet. All right. Seeing none.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So next we have, I I believe it is the downtown property improvements. Is that Gary Becker? Is he with us?
It's actually Katrina Becker.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you. So my name is Katrina Becker. You're probably, many of you are probably familiar with my dad, Gary Becker, who's been working with Stoughton since 1988, I think. So I'm kind of joining him in taking on some of the work and learning from him. So it's great to be here. Thank you. So if you could go to the next slide. So just to give some context about our work, Becker Professional Services, and the connection to the this ARPA request and for downtown property improvements. So earlier this year in April, the City Council approved funding for Becker Professional Services to do a number of different things working with the city. Among them are working on the East Main Street redevelopment plan, writing and submitting grant applications for infrastructure and building rehab for downtown, supporting the Innovation Center, meeting with businesses to help them secure various resources, other economic development grant applications, as well as supporting the Stoughton Resettlement Assistance Program with other fundraising efforts as well. So through this work, we have been working on submitting a $250,000 community development investment grant through WEDC, which is the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, to support. That grant is specifically for building renovation projects for downtowns. And so we were hoping to, because through our meetings with lots of property owners and business owners, found that there are quite a few similar projects, a number of people hoping to turn second floors into apartments or Airbnbs, a number of buildings needing sprinkler upgrades, connection to the water main, things like that. We were hoping to be able to bundle the CDI grant into supporting a number of those different projects. And unfortunately, we are only able to apply for one address and one property. So we decided to go with the biggest impact for that amount for the CDI grant, and then break out these other couple of projects through an ARPA request, kind of based on the similar structure of the CDI grant. So that's why we're here. That's why I'm here presenting to you tonight. And so I will let, if you want to go to the next slide. Oh, yes. So the total amount that we're requesting is $200,000. And this is a quarter of the total project costs for these two projects. And this, again, is modeled after this CDI grant, which requires a 3-to-1 match in investment from the property owners. And so the total impact of this request and these projects is to have 4 new apartments in downtown Stoughton, three of which are 2 bedrooms. It would be turning 2 currently unusable second floors into usable living space in prime locations. There's a connection to tourism and attracting visitors to Stoughton. You know, one is a place to stay right above a chocolate and pottery shop, which you'll learn more about. And then another one is part of the East Main Street redevelopment area, which is a focus, and it would have an available commercial space opportunity as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian and Brooke, and they can talk about their specific projects.
Thank you very much, Katrina. My name is Brooke Johnson. Thank you very much for having me. I own Yahara Chocolate and Tea and Green Road Pottery at 261 West Main Street. And I was working with Becker Professional Services to try and get funding through the WEDC grant. Unfortunately, my project wasn't chosen. And so now you can see my project on your screen. The
Sound from the council room. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Can you hear us, Ben?
I can hear you guys. Ben, are you unable to hear us?
I think my internet connection just had a hiccup. I think it's okay now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so my building is on the other side of the river, right next to the Norwegian Heritage Center. It first appeared on the Sanborn Fire Insurance Map in 1912, so it was built sometime between 1905 and 1912. As long as I can remember, or as long as anyone in Stoughton can remember, the second floor has never been used for anything. It's just empty. There's no fixtures up there, there's no lighting, there's no plumbing, there's no anything up there. And my goal is to renovate that second floor, and there's enough space for 2 apartments. Now, one of the things that drew me to Stoughton very initially in the beginning was the Stoughton Opera House, and we all know that that's a huge draw to Stoughton, but one of the things from visitors that have visited me, people who wanted to stay, is there's no place to stay in Stoughton that you can walk to downtown except for Nesset Row Bed and Breakfast and 2 Airbnbs across the street from me. So that means there are 4 rooms that I know of that are walkable to everything you can do in downtown Stoughton. So the real impact that I want to make is to turn the second floor into 2 Airbnb apartments, which would increase our downtown walkability rate by 50%, right, by adding 2 more rooms. And what is prohibiting me from doing this is that you can see in the project needs, there are no floors need to be done, the ceilings need to be done, everything needs to be done. What has already been done in my building, which I purchased in 2016 as the cheapest building on Main Street, I believe, is I've already put an immense amount of work into the first floor. I replaced the entire foundation along the western wall to support the building. I've replaced all the exterior siding. I've replaced all the windows. I've replaced the roof, which had the original cedar shingles on it from 1910 or whenever the building was actually built. So none of that exterior needs to be done. All that needs to be done now is interior. Unfortunately, with the additional cost of the sprinkler systems now, you can see the total project cost to complete now is $358,000, and that exceeds the amount of money that the bank is willing to lend me to do this project, which is where I need additional funding to do the project. Otherwise, it just can't get done at this time. So I'm hoping that we're able to, the council will consider some ARPA funds to get this project done, because I think it is a big thing for Stoughton. The Opera House brings in so many people. People want to stay. I'm always shocked about how many people just chose Stoughton to come and stay for the weekend. But they're staying at the lake. They're staying, they have to stay out of town. They have to stay at one of the hotels where they would really rather be able to walk everywhere that they want to go. And you can walk everywhere in Stoughton, to the Norwegian Heritage Center, to the library, down to the galleries, down to all the restaurants, right? You can walk everywhere, except no one has anywhere to stay. So are there any questions about the project? One additional thing is I do have a builder lined up to be able to do this, and we would be able to start in January of next year. And the numbers have gone up significantly since I originally had this project bid 3 years ago, but these are relatively current numbers under the current conditions of materials costs. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Prices have gone up, so I'd imagine your gap between what the bank would lend has grown. Roughly, what is that gap?
Well, banks are funny in that way, in that I don't have officially state-certified architectural plans, and without those, the bank will refuse to give me any hard number on what they would offer me. 3 years ago, when I was able to get a rough idea of how much the bank was able to lend, the bank thought they would be able to lend about $250,000 on the back of the napkin, don't tell anyone, sort of, sort of guess, since I didn't have any official architectural plans that had been approved by the state yet in hand. So I would imagine, even though house prices have gone way up, maybe they're coming down now, I don't anticipate that the value of the building on Main Street necessarily has changed that much in the last 3 years, since it's not probably it's had the same sort of value growth as a residential home.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I have one. Brooke, have you applied also for the RDA revolving loan fund?
Yes, and I'm currently paying that off. So to go back in a little bit, in 2018, the gap between what the bank would lend me to redo my entire first floor and all the exterior and replace the foundation was about $48,000. So I was able to apply to the city's revolving fund loan of $50,000, which bridged the gap and helped me get that first floor done. So I'm currently 2 years into paying that off. So I still have $30,000 left to repay of that loan.
Okay, great. I just didn't know if you were planning on applying for the second phase of your remodel as well.
Well, I didn't know if I necessarily could, or if it was still limited at $50,000, or if there was only $20,000 available. Unfortunately, that's just not going to even be close to what I would need to continue the program project.
Any other questions from alders?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'm next. My name is Brian, and I'm just a local guy that sort of had a little career change at the beginning of the pandemic. Live here in town, of course, 1 block off Main Street, and yeah, I had a wild hair last year and ended up buying the building at 421 East Main Street, which I still call Elsing's. It was the old secondhand shop for the last 17 years. Built in 1891 as the Hanson House, and yeah, I think the proximity to the Opera House and the fire station and Rotary Park, and as we said, kind of the east side of Main Street. Yeah, it's a notable landmark building. You can kind of it's the thing you see as you drive east down Main Street. So that's what I'm working on these days, and yeah, I've already been working on it for a year now, but yeah, I'll be brief. You know, I'm kind of doing my own general contracting, which has been fun, finding different contractors to do what we're trying to accomplish, which is to put mainly 2 apartments in the second floor of the building, which, like Brooks' building, has been vacant for decades and decades, with no utilities. The original hotel certainly had chamber pots. Evidently, I mean, that's a fact, yeah. So it's a big project, and you know, the numbers are all actually really conservative. It's going to cost me more than this, but again, I do a lot of the work myself, and it's a general privilege to be the rehabilitator of this building. I'm having fun with it, so I'm pretty far along. I mean, I've already had the apartments, you know, framed and hired an architect and everything like that. So I don't need to bore you with all the specifics, but a lot of the updates that I'm doing are just like good for the building itself. And you know, the biggest question people ask me when they learn what I'm doing is, what's the first floor going to be? And I don't know the answer yet, but you know, it probably won't be my business. It'll probably be someone else's. But to that end, I'm, you know, updating all the mechanicals of the building and giving it, you know, 400 amp, 3-phase service so that it could be a restaurant or brewery or whatever. And it used to have a 3/4 inch water line coming into the building to feed the 2 bathrooms in the back. And like Brooks spoke of, when I first started the project, I didn't have any idea that I would need sprinklers, and I think the law actually changed so that if you have any number of residential spaces above commercial space, you need sprinklers. So that was you know, a big $30,000, and then to have a water pipe that does feed those sprinklers has to be a 6-inch instead of 3/4 inch, and so that's another $20,000. And again, I'm updating the electrical as well. So it's just, you know, all good for the building and whatever it's going to be in the decades to come. Yeah, otherwise I plan on, I think it'll just be good for Main Street. I mean, if people are walking home from a show at the Opera House to see, you know, lights, you know, some old schoolhouse pendant lamps illuminating the upstairs, you know, and knowing that it's in use instead of just an empty space, I guess. And I do, yeah, I plan on doing it right and not cutting corners and making the style of the apartments kind of true to architectural style of when it was built. And the last thing I might mention is that, you know, I'm trying to be green about it. I'm not going to have natural gas. Oh, I just saw the building. Yeah. I'm not putting like natural gas in for even for cooking or for heating in the apartments, because I just I'm putting solar panels on the roof, which is kind of south facing, so that makes a lot of sense. So we're going to fill that with solar panels, and so the heating and cooling will all be electric in nature instead of burning fossil fuels, and that's just something I believe in, and I'm not going to, skimp on that idea, I guess. So yeah, otherwise the budget is there, and that's kind of what I've been up to for last year, and I got a lot to go, but yeah, any questions about the building?
Been fun watching.
Oh yeah,
If
if
I
you
mean,
see a little
it's really
black car
cool.
out front, I'm inside, so come on by, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions from alders online or here? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And, I believe next is the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
Just hooking up my computer here, so.
Rodney, I think I'll have to drive on this one.
All right. So can those on Zoom see the wallpaper? The screensaver? Because I'm not hooked up to the medium.
Yep. Yes.
They're saying yes.
I heard
so-
a yes.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you. All right. I am Callie LaPointe. I'm the Events and Visitor Services Manager of the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Department of Visitor Services within the Chamber, I'm excited to present the proposal for the purchase of a single interactive digital kiosk, which would be placed along the sidewalk by City Hall parking lot. So if you're visioning this, kind of where the post box is on the sidewalk, there's a little inset area and some power sources in that planter. This kiosk will have the ability to serve a multitude of purposes for residents and guests alike. Just as you're walking in a mall or an airport, this digital kiosk is your source of information for where to go in Stoughton. The outdoor signage would create a visibly appealing touchpoint system of shopping and dining locations, along with community resources at a central location in Stoughton. There would be a standard practice of event requests and postings that coincide with the City of Stoughton and the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce guidelines. As you'll see in the demo that I'll be going through, there's a scrolling screen, which you can serve as immediate possibility to utilize the system for timely and critical public information needs. So what you're seeing now is just some screensavers. As I click on it, there is your little scrolling screen. So welcome to the City Council presentation of August 9th. In my short demo of what the design can look like, you'll see the beautiful scenes of Stoughton on those screensavers. I am able to do a mass import of listings, which upon purchase, so I just have a few listings in there right now, so please accept the pared down version. I will check out here the public.
Stoughton Opera House.
It's ADA accessible. So
Public services.
in the public
Swipe your finger up or down or tap the arrows.
In the public service building, you'll see that I have just listed a few different things. Stoughton Area Senior Center, Stoughton Health, the fire department. This is City Hall, but I got into a little glitch with technology and images. So if we click on the Senior Center,
Stoughton Area Senior Center.
once you click on the touch point, then you'll see point A is where you are standing and point B is where you want to get. We have the ability for phone. Right now, I'm not hooked up with the system. So I think if we had a phone line to it, you could call this from there. There is a QR code for every listing. So if you take your phone and QR code that, what you'll get on the phone is your listing up on top.
So I can go through just a couple more. Here's some local
historical, swipe your finger up or down or tap the arrows.
some local attractions,
Stoughton Village Players Theater.
which of course if you're standing at the kiosk and looking for the Village Players is right behind you.
Back. Local, swipe your finger up or down or tap the arrows.
I went a little too quick. But I did have, so like I said, we can do a lot of different things on here. There's the calendar of events, which
Community events.
hook up. The calendar of events would go to the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce events calendar, which is open for the public. It's kind of a mainstay of public events going on.
Calendar of events.
And then a website, which in a demo right now, the website is not live. So the icons on the bottom are all customizable, as of all the graphics. So I've made those icons on the bottom, understanding once you see it on the screen, they're a little thin in line. So with the purchase, I'm able to adjust those with my Adobe software. As noted in the proposal that's in your packet, there is blue light technology available. That cost is not included in this proposal.
Do you need more time?
No, because we're going to go to Screensavers now. That time's out at 10 seconds, and I can change that. But really, again, if you're walking up to the kiosk, if you need more than 10 seconds, you can kind of play with it. Going back to the blue light technology, if that's desired within the city offices, I would ask that the city departments be involved with the conversation on that with the supplier to make sure that all the needs are met and action steps are thought through. Case in point, you don't want some folks walking by at midnight at night pressing the button saying, hey, let's see what happens. It's like calling 911. So just want to make sure that that's thought through. So this signage, just for note, is a separate signage request from that of Public Works. I have been working with Brett in conjunction with this. Brett's proposal, just so you know, is 2 signs on the outside of town coming in. So this is a completely separate project from that. But then again, working with John Montgomery too with IT, Brett's team would set this up. John would make sure it all works with the inner worlds, and I would make it look like this. So I appreciate your attention to this proposal, and I hope it creates some more buzz for the guests to get around and visit Stoughton.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
What would be the cost, and could you change the program's voice?
I'll have to explore what the voice is like, yes. The overall cost in the budget proposal was for $27,852. So the cost of the actual piece is $22,477, $400 for U.S. cellular service and a static IP, $2,000 for electrical service connection, $2,000 for estimated shipping and tax. If we wanted to make things a little bit prettier, that's additional cost over the proposal.
And Fred, that document with the numbers is in your packet.
And so this, I did get an updated proposal for this meeting. The original proposal I had sent last winter had expired in February. So just due to rising technology cost, it may change again, just to put that out there.
And the voice only needs a little tweak, and you'd have Stephen Hawking's voice, so it's not, wouldn't it be all right?
Any other questions?
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Callie.
Thanks, Kelly.
And Stoughton Kiwanis, I don't know if we have anyone here from...
They were not able to make it tonight. They had 2 people scheduled, and life interfered.
Okay.
So they did include a written thing in the packet.
Yep, I saw that. And next, do we have anyone from the Neighborhood Free Health Clinic?
I don't know if they do or not. I included in the packet everything that I had.
Okay. And finally, Downtown Merchants Association, I do see that we received something later in the afternoon, so welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Yes, ours was one of the last put in, and Dave was very gracious to allow us to do that. So I appreciate, but wanted to get it in before you all took to deliberations. I'm Joanne Grassman. I'm the owner of Grand Inspired at 501 East Main, and here representing the Stoughton Downtown Merchants Association this evening. We are a new organization. So if you all think about funding this proposal, you will be taking a chance on this organization, and we ask that you do. The Stoughton downtown is probably like no other downtown that you can experience pretty much anywhere. You know, when we look at the historic buildings downtown and how many people see those buildings every day, we're a city that has a major highway going through our downtown, and I think it's something like 12 to 14,000 vehicles go through downtown every day. And that's the occupants of all of those buildings putting into place their perceptions, their ideas about Stoughton from that place that they travel across each day. This group is representing downtown merchants. We're different but complementary to the Chamber that does fantastic work in terms of promoting Stoughton as a whole. This group is really focused on the needs, the issues, the challenges that downtown merchants have, and that includes retail businesses, dining establishments, hospitality. As you all know, and I think our downtown merchants are painfully aware, the pandemic really did a number on small businesses especially. Many of them were forced to close for months. Some people were able to adapt to what they needed to for keeping their businesses alive during the pandemic. I talked with Karen at Grasshopper Goods, who said the community was tremendously supportive in just being able to keep people's heads above water during that time. But things changed during the pandemic, and even now that businesses are open again, still kind of reeling from lost income during the times that they were forced to close. Consumer behavior has changed tremendously. So even before the pandemic, online shopping was becoming a thing. During the pandemic, everybody had to learn how to do online shopping, right? My 88-year-old mom learned how to do online shopping. That hasn't gone away. So online shopping has become a thing. You don't need to go to a store to buy anything anymore. Small businesses, if they have survived during that time, they've had to learn a whole new language. I included a couple acronyms in there. You can raise your hand if you know what SEO means. No takers on that? No? Okay. Search engine optimization. So if you want someone doing an online search to find Green Road Pottery, you have to be able to know how to get your name to come up first in the search. And most of us don't know how to do that, right? We just don't. It's not what people went into business for. Large organizations, large retail companies, franchises, they have big marketing departments that do that for small businesses. We don't. And the other thing, though, that has changed for people and that really provides some opportunities for us, if we don't want to see the downtown have a constant flux of incoming businesses that are, exciting and fresh and new, and then in a year or two they're gone because people just aren't coming to downtowns. They're doing their shopping online. They're doing things where they can find something cheaper, some other place. All of those things are true. And all of those people that drive through downtown Stoughton, seeing empty storefronts, seeing a business that was there a couple of months ago that's now not there anymore, things closing, coming and going, that's the image that they're generating for Stoughton. That's the image that they think about when, do I want to live in this town? Do I want to become an employer in this town? Our Main Street is valuable. It provides a valuable thing to the community. So I mentioned that there has been a change in consumer behavior that provides an opportunity for our downtown merchants. And that is that people now want to have an experience when they go out. If they go to a downtown, they don't just go there to shop, to pick something up. They go there to have fun, to interact with a business or to interact with a restaurant or some kind of experience that they can have. Our downtown merchants can do that. We can do that in Stoughton. We have amazing downtown businesses. Brooks Business, I will promote my business. We have other galleries. We have Spry Whimsy. We have the Studio 184. We have these amazing, unique businesses that combined can really create a force for bringing people to our downtown. And that's what we aim to do with the Stoughton Downtown Merchants Association. Collaboratively, when we're working together, we can do this. So that's what we're asking for funds for. You'll see in our objectives that we want to celebrate that downtown historic beauty. And Brooke and Brian both spoke about, you know, if we want to keep these buildings vibrant, if we want to keep them useful or even make them useful, it's expensive to do that. But without that, they sit vacant. They sit with empty storefronts. They sit with dark windows at night when people are going through. So that investment in downtown is really it's a bigger investment than just in those individual buildings or those individual businesses. So we want to celebrate that downtown historic beauty and combine that with different kinds of experiences, dining experiences, hospitality experiences that people say, you know what, Stoughton really is the place to go. Let's go there. Yes, yes. So we want to do events that bring people to downtown, make it a destination experience for people coming into Stoughton, do shared marketing opportunities. I, as a small business owner, can't afford to do the kind of marketing that's going to bring people into downtown. But if I pitch in a little bit, if Brooke pitches in a little bit, we can do that. And that's, again, what this association is all about. We want to work with the chamber. I belong to the chamber, and I will belong to the Stoughton Downtown Merchants Association. They are not opposing forces. They're collaborative forces. We want to work with City Council. You know, what are the concerns of downtown merchants as a whole? And can we work with the City Council? Can we work with Public Works, et cetera, to be able to find solutions to the kinds of things that the people sort of literally on the street are experiencing? We want to provide opportunities for collaboration between businesses. Brooke and I we're collaborating on something coming up in a couple of weeks, and those kinds of shared experiences, again, are things that can really make our downtown vibrant. We have different business expertise, different business acumen. If I know something that I can share with another downtown business, I want to be able to do that, and I want to have the forum for it. And if somebody else has something that I can use, I'm hoping that they will do the same for me. We want to help attract and sustain new downtown and area businesses. So as a small business owner in a particular industry, I know people. Brooke knows people, Ingrid knows people, Alan knows people, Teresa Abel knows people. We can reach out to those people as a whole to say, you know what, there's this place in Stoughton that we think would make a great place for your business. Let's check it out. And those are the kinds of things that we want to keep going. We want to mentor new merchants. So if someone comes in as a new downtown merchant and they're wondering, you know what, how do I go about getting a permit for this? We have the place, we have the forum, we have the venue for us to be able to share that kind of information and help each other out in that way. So it's not just about bringing business in, it's about sustaining what we have, building upon what we have to make something even better. So what we're looking for the rescue plan funding, What we have already, I put in there. We have hardworking small business owners who are dedicated to Stoughton. Brooke, again, I just am picking on him because he's sitting in back of me here, but, you know, Brooke talked about the investment that he put into that building, right? Like, that is dedication to Stoughton, making that kind of investment. We have ideas, we have creativity, we have inspirations, we have all of those kinds of things. We've got truly unique, cool businesses in downtown Stoughton that can provide experiences. And we've got some spirit going right now. We've got some momentum going right now with the Downtown Merchants Association. What we need is startup funding. We truly believe that if we can get the startup funding, if we can get the group going, get it off the ground, get some events planned, bring in people, that the downtown merchants will see the benefit of it, and we look to be able to sustain the group with membership fees. So what we're looking for, again, startup funding, we're asking for a total of $24,000. We want to establish a brand for downtown Stoughton, again, in collaboration with the other groups. This is not something that's outside of what other people are doing. Put together a nice professional-looking website, online social media presence. We'll get a good SEO going, and really make, when people are looking for an experience, downtown Stoughton comes as the first thing that they find. We'd like to do some type of holiday event and advertising to get that going, a summer event next year. Some things that we've talked about, we have a large number of businesses in the Stoughton area that offer classes that teach people how to do things. We teach people how to do woodworking. Brooke teaches people how to do pottery. Ingrid, who's listening up here, I know, teaches people how to do knitting and crocheting and yarn work. Studio 184 teaches people how to upcycle furniture. We have this tremendous array of things, and wouldn't it be cool if we also had places for people to stay, that they could plan a vacation around being in Stoughton and do all kinds of fun things like that. These are the kinds of ideas that are being generated within the group. We have some startup fees, legal, accounting, that kind of thing. And then I hadn't heard before about the kiosks, so that's very cool. But we had also thought that visitors to Stoughton really need a way to maximize their experience. They need to know where to find things. They need to know, you know, which direction do I go if I want to get to Gable Gallery? How do I get down there? Is it too far to walk for me? Those kinds of things. Where do I get something to eat? If you're from out of town, to us all, it seems very obvious, you know, where things are. But if you're from out of town, you just don't know. And so having, you know, good walking maps, et cetera, to be able to point people in the right direction is something that we want to do. Again, maximizing that experience that people have when they come, so that when they go and tell their neighbors, we had an amazing time in Stoughton, you have to go there. Very cool. I'm going to stop. You guys have been listening so patiently, and I've only seen a few yawns during the whole time. Ingrid, I know you're listening. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
You covered everything great. I think what I would want to stress is that many of our businesses down here are locally owned. Most of us have purchased our buildings. And so that really shows a great commitment to the community, that we're going to stay, we're not transient. And having a networked group that makes us stronger will allow us to become a force in the community as well. So long-term goals would be things like youth and business education partnerships. So we have the ability to do some amazing things for Stoughton that aren't just for tourism and bringing in people that want to participate in what we have here, but also serving our community and serving our neighbors, making sure that we're providing things that they need, not only from a retail or a food and beverage or an entertainment standpoint, but also from a social community standpoint, and creating those experiences and being able to give back to the community.
So I just want to thank you for consideration of this.
Thank you. Other questions that you all have?
I don't, anyone on
I
the
have a
Zoom?
question. What are your boundaries of the merchants that are included in your organization?
Yeah, as I understand it, and I'm not the historian of the group, but I will tell you what I know. So it's Main Street east to Academy Street, which is about by the hospital, west to King Street, which is, I believe, just past, it's about by Conant, and then 2 blocks on either side of Main Street. So it's really, the focus of it is supposed to be on a downtown experience. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that concludes our presentations, so I guess it's back to you, President Hirsch.
Thank you, Vice President Reeves. And thank you all for everybody that gave presentations tonight. And thank you for council for, being present and listening to these wonderful groups we have in the city that makes us a great city to live in. And man, I wish we had a couple more $1 million to give away. So you guys are making our task very, very difficult. I'm going to have a suggestion here. We've been sitting for almost 2 hours. Can we just have maybe a 2 to 3 minute just stand up stretch? You know, people need a bio break or whatever. Please do so and come back like at 8:46 or something like that. It's just, I know, I'm just trying to be cognizant. You guys have been sitting, like I said, for almost 2 hours. So can we come back like in 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
Sounds good. Thank you. Great idea.
Surprisingly cold in here, isn't it? It has its moment when.
I think we're all present now.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I think the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they would like to have removed to vote on separately from the consent agenda?
President Hirsch, I'll abstain from the vote.
Okay. All right. Is there any other requests for the consent agenda? And I can't see any in the room. Lisa, does anybody have anything?
Nope.
Hands up?
No,
I don't
would
see any.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
So first by Vice President Reeves, second by, is that Elder Legaki?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? And I think there's one abstention.
Correct.
All right. Motion carries. Moving on to old business. I believe this is coming from the Plan Commission. Phil, do you want to take it away?
Yes. If I can, my computer just lost it, but I will read it from the screen. Yes, this is Ordinance 16 of 2022, an ordinance providing for the direct annexation by unanimous petition of a portion of the town of Dunkirk to the city of Stoughton, Dane County, Wisconsin, and I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Greg. Phil, do you want to talk about this or have Rodney?
This is just as we, since this is a second reading, at last council meeting, we saw this, and this is just the annexation of that one parcel at essentially Highway 51 and Velkeman Way. The structure that was there is gone, and that's it.
Somebody have any questions regarding this? Rodney, do you have anything to add?
I think it's pretty straightforward. We highlighted at the last meeting that there's still one small remnant in the bottom left-hand corner of that area that would yet be annexed in the future, but this is suitable for annexation into the city at this point.
Okay, great, thank you. Anybody in the room have a question or
Nope.
anybody online? Don't see anybody.
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Phil and Rodney. Moving on to new
I'm
business.
sorry, did we actually get a motion in a second?
We did.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. The motion was by Phil and the second, I think, wasn't it Greg?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. R 158 of 2022. I believe, Rodney, because this is kind of coming from no committee, but just, it's from the city. Do you want to introduce this?
I think it
I
came
can.
to
It did
finance.
actually go to finance tonight.
Yes, finance.
Okay, so finance, Brett?
Yep. R 158, 2022, authorizing and directing proper city official to enter into an access agreement with Uniroyal Global Engineered Products. So moved.
Second. Oh,
We have a,
we
we
did
have
it.
a motion and a second? Was that
Yes.
second by Reeves?
I think it was Alder Jensen and I at the same time, so
Well, I wrote down Greg, so
Okay,
that's
good
what's.
enough.
Good enough.
Well covered.
Yeah.
Jensen combination.
All right, great. Do you want to go more into this? Rodney or Brett?
I can certainly give you just a quick summary. You might recall we had entered into an agreement with them to do some testing for the materials that were migrating off of their site. That testing work and that agreement expired. The DNR, they worked to facilitate an additional scope of work and a work plan through the DNR that includes additional testing on our site. Since our agreement had expired, this is a new one to take the place of the one that had expired. The parameters of it are the same as what they were in the past, except for the new siting locations for their testing on that site.
And these sites are like by the EMS building and utilities, or?
Correct. It's the EMS utilities building area. There is an exhibit in the document here that I think was attached as an exhibit. Nonetheless, it is on the south and east sides of the utility building.
Okay, great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions from the room?
Not that I'm seeing.
Any people online? Seeing none? All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to number 8, R 159 of 2022, coming from Public Safety. Is that you, Greg?
That is me. Thank you. Resolution 159, 2022, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to issue a Class B fermented beverage, or malt beverage license to Stoughton, Wisconsin Huts LLC, Clinton Miller, agent, doing business as Pizza Hut, located at 1400 US Highway 51. And I would move for approval.
Second.
Do you want to introduce this, Greg?
Yeah, I'm basically, I think this is just a change of the agent. I don't think there was any issues with it, Pat. Nothing, okay, no issues from the police department. Everything was in line. Everything is the way it should be.
Great. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Not in the room.
Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is R 160 of 2022. This is you too, Greg.
You bet. Resolution 160, 2022, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to issue a Class B fermented malt beverage license and a Class C wine to Pancake Cafe Stoughton, LLC, Andrew Gelliff, whatever, agent, doing business as Pancake Cafe Stoughton, location at 2420 Wisconsin Highway 138, Suite 106, and I would move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brett.
Yep. There was an ownership change, and this license is just moving from one owner to the other.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
This is Matt, Regina.
Okay.
I had a conversation with the city clerk this afternoon indicating that, as I understood it, we do not yet have, or the applicant here does not yet have a leasehold interest in the property.
Okay.
And so my understanding was that the council should consider conditioning, modifying the resolution to indicate that the issuance of the license would be conditioned upon the city clerk receiving a copy of the lease, confirming that the applicant actually has a leasehold interest in the property.
Okay, does somebody want to make that motion?
Yes, I would make amendment to the motion to be contingent upon receipt of lease agreement by the city clerk.
Dave, do you have that?
Yes.
Matt, do we need anything else in that amendment?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, thank you.
Just need a second.
Did you want to second that?
I will second that also.
So we have a second on the amendment, Dave, that Greg made.
Yes, Greg and Brett.
I think we vote first on the amendment, then the whole.
Correct.
So all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The amendment carries. Now we go back to the original resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That resolution carries. Thank you all. Next, item number 10, resolution R 161 of 2022. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you.
Guys been busy.
Yeah. Resolution 161, 2022, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve a temporary Class B wine retailer's license and special event license to Stoughton Chamber of Commerce for Stoughton Wine Walk, and I would move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
second from Gene.
Yep.
Callie is here, so she can answer any questions, but this is an annual event now, and there were no issues found by the police department, so highly recommend it.
Does anybody have any questions for Callie?
None in the room.
What's the date on it, Callie?
The date will be October 13th, Thursday evening.
Thank you.
Any questions from the people calling in? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That resolution carries.
Thank you.
Next resolution, R 162 of 2022. Greg,
Thank you again. Resolution 162, 2022, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to issue an operator's license to Carissa Alt, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. As you know, that this has to be presented in a positive. The public safety recommended denial on a 5-0 vote. That would be, my recommendation is to deny this operator's
This is Matt.
license.
And this is Matt again.
Yes.
I also discussed this particular matter with the city clerk this afternoon, and I'm going to recommend that action on this particular application be tabled to next meeting. I just learned about this afternoon. There are several legal questions that I think need to be evaluated before the council takes action on this matter. If you'd like me to elaborate, I can.
I think maybe, I don't know, is it appropriate? Do we need to go to
Tabling
closed
it?
door?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
I don't think we can go into closed session because there
Yeah, it's not
isn't,
posted.
it's not posted.
Yeah.
And so,
That was going to be my point, but yes.
so I think if there are some legal issues, does somebody, want to make a motion to table?
I'm willing to move that we table, given this new news that came forward.
Second.
All in favor of tabling, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That gets tabled. Moving on to number 12. This is coming from Finance, R 163, 2022. Brett,
Here comes all the exciting stuff now. Hold on. R 163, 2022, resolution to amend shared ride services, also known as the taxi program budget for calendar year 2020. We approved this on a 6-0 vote, July 26th, and I so move.
Second.
Brett, do you want to introduce what this is all about?
I am going to have Dave cover these because some of these are trickier than others.
Okay. This one is twofold purpose. Number one, we need to correct the accounting. We have been netting the amount that we paid the vendor against the revenues that public has been charging, which is approximately $100,000 per year. We actually need to show those two as separate items. So that would be one to allow the additional approximately $104,000 for the budget to increase expenditures. And then number two, this should actually be considered a special revenue fund as opposed to part of the general fund, especially given the fact that it honestly has nothing to do with the finance department. operations, so we need to move that out to get it into a special revenue fund.
Okay, any questions for Dave on this?
I don't see any in the room.
So Dave, what do you mean by a revenue fund versus, so right now it's just coming out of the general fund, but it should have its own account? Because it generates, we give money and but yet they take money in? Is that what's going on?
Well, you got a couple things. The general fund under governmental accounting is everything by default unless there is a valid reason for having it separate. And the entirety of this revenue, well, I shouldn't say the entirety, with the exception of, I believe, 17,000 in tax levy, the vast majority is either grant funding or public charges for service. So it definitely qualifies under special revenue funds. So that's one of the reasons we're doing it. Number two, as I said, it's in my department's budget, but it really doesn't belong there. It's not an accounting function. And that has to then get changed by Baker Tilly to get it into the correct classification on financial statements and Form C. So we've been incurring audit fees because of that. And I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so if it's not gonna be under you, where is it moving to?
It's actually a separate fund. I don't remember well, I've got the accounting here in the
But who
resolution.
will oversee it? You'll still oversee it,
Well,
or?
The intent is that the reports that are generated to finance, in addition to my department, I'm also putting the taxi program and the shared revenue, essentially anything that, for lack of a better terms, is orphaned. Nobody truly oversees it, so that at least the finance committee is aware of those items.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to number 13, R-164-2022. Yes, Brett, you're on again.
Yep, for a couple of them now. R-164-2022, a resolution to amend revolving loan program budget for calendar year 2022. Finance recommended 6-0 on July 26th. So moved.
Second.
Dave or Brett, are you going to explain this one?
Dave again, because this one has an adjustment that has to
Yes.
get made with it.
Okay, a couple of things. The revolving loan fund is actually under control of the Redevelopment Authority, and so therefore I'm recommending that we merge the Redevelopment Authority and the revolving loan fund together into one fund. That will create more efficiencies in accounting, one less fund to report and so forth, and the auditors will be pleased with that. The other problem is that the revolving loan fund accounting is not correct. This is a governmental fund, which basically means we have to use modified accrual accounting. And under modified accrual accounting, you only recognize revenues when you are able to reasonably expect to get the revenues within 60 days of year end. Well, what was happening is we set up these 5-year loans, and recognize the revenue right up front, which we can't do. So we've got to adjust the accounting, for lack of a better term, the 164,018, we need to expense it in calendar year 22 to get the fund balance correct. That doesn't mean that we're writing it off. It just goes into what's called a deferred inflow of resources on the balance sheet, so that over the next 3 to 4 years, as funds are collected, then we recognize the revenue basically on a monthly basis. So in a nutshell, part of this is correcting or combining the funds, and part is to get the accounting to where it should be. And that 164,018 is coming out of the fund balance of what is currently the revolving loan fund. So it does not affect the general fund at all.
So Dave, when you say that you combine it with the RDA funds, the revolving loan kind of program should be a standalone, and it shouldn't, and the RDA kind of funds are for, doing other things. How is that going to be separated?
They've basically got, using the BS&A terms, within the fund, they are going to have two different departments, one being the normal RDA operations, one being the revolving loan operations. The concept is no different than the general fund. I've got multiple departments out there for police, fire, finance, clerk. We're just following the same routine just within Fund 261 for the RDA. So when we run off the reports for the RDA, all the activity is there.
And Dave, I think in the resolution, you do identify those two funds. One is Fund 261 and one is Fund 248, so we can identify the differences, right, it sounds like.
Right, yeah. And in the backup documentation, I showed you the balance sheet and income statement for Fund 248, where I got the numbers from. So what's currently in Fund 248 will now be a new department in 261.
And the total amount in the revolving loan is up in, 200,000 to 300,000 when it's all returned, right?
When it's all returned, yes. Right now, we have got a receivable of approximately $164,000, which is just the principal balance. The fund balance right now, and shown in 248, is $272,000. But if we wanted to loan out that $272,000, I don't have the cash to loan it out. I've only got the amount of cash we've been paid so far, so that has to be the fund balance.
Right. I'm just saying that when everything is, we had that amount, we've loaned it out, we're waiting for, people to repay.
Correct.
So it's, all I'm wanting to see is that it has increased over the years, so this great program that was started with RDA, this revolving loan, is actually working out pretty well and has helped a lot of different businesses in downtown.
I agree.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Dave or the Finance Committee?
I don't see any hands in the room.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Number 14, R165. Brett again.
All right, R165 of 2022, a resolution to amend the emergency medical services budget for calendar year 2022. Finance recommended unanimous approval on July 26th. So moved.
Second.
you want to explain this, Brett, or
Yeah,
we
I mean-
send it back to Dave?
This is another one where we're, it's in the same vein of what we're doing with this, the previous ones, and some that are next and in the future. Just, it cleans up the number of funds that are out there and puts them into, combines them into one fund, but they're still traceable as they were with the other separate fund designations. So we can still see them and know what they're doing, but they're just tracked more efficiently within the accounting system.
And this one, the case is that for the two sinking funds that EMS has for the truck fund and equipment fund, the auditors are correctly combining those two funds with the emergency medical service as one fund in the audited financial statements, and our general ledger should reflect that same thing.
And Lisa from EMS knows about this and,
Yes.
okay. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to R166, Brett again.
All right, hold on, I gotta check out a typo here real quick. Okay, in the header of this one, it's listed as R165, so we gotta adjust that one to R166. But this is R166 2022, resolution to amend Opera House budget for calendar year 2022. Finance had recommended unanimous on July 26th, so moved.
Second.
Are you gonna open this one up?
Yep,
Brett?
sure, yep, again, it's in the same vein as what we're doing, combining some of the fund numbers, that, Ellers had already combined, themselves in the accounting, so.
Well, actually, no, this
This
one.
one wasn't?
This is separate.
Okay.
This is a case where the Opera House has had approximately $6,800 sitting in their Opera House repair fund since 2016. Nothing's been occurring in it. I'm proposing that we just transfer the fund to the regular Opera House budget, and Bill is in support of this.
Okay, great. Any questions from the room?
Nope.
Any questions from online? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Last one for you, Brett.
Okay,
R167 2022.
all right, this header needs to be adjusted also, it reflects R166 in it, but this is R167 of 2022, a resolution to amend Ems Trust Fund budget for calendar year 2022. Finance recommended unanimous July 26th. So moved.
Second.
All right.
I
this
should
one-
probably
yeah,
take this one.
Yeah,
This one's a
I
little bit-
thought was a little more complicated.
Yes. In addition to the activity where we combine the sinking funds with the regular EMS operations, there was also a separate fund called EMS Trust Fund, which is probably why the auditors kept it separate. But when I looked at the detail, it's not a trust fund. There is no trust fund established. And what we basically got is federal grant revenue coming in, charges to the public for CPR classes and donations received. So once we determine what's going on there, based upon everything else, recommending moving that EMS category into the regular EMS fund. Again, like everything else, these three areas are going to have their own department in Fund 603, so we're tracking it separately, especially for the federal grants and the donations. Those are restricted by purpose. So this basically combines everything for the EMS Trust Fund together. And again, Lisa's aware of this change.
All right, thanks, Dave. Any questions from the, let's see, anybody online have any questions for us this time? Hearing none. Any in the room?
None here.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item on the agenda is coming from CACP. Rachel, I think you're the person that wants to introduce this?
That could be. This is ordinance 18 of 2021, amending City Ordinance Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2. And let's see, I was not present for this, so I will have to ask for help.
So this is,
Oh, go ahead,
this is
Ben.
what we passed last year. And what we had in question for CACP was whether we wanted to reconsider allowing citizen members to serve as chair or vice chair. And we wanted to bring that up to council kind of as a follow-up check-in to see how our citizen member appointments are going in general. And we did actually forget about this rule and temporarily vote in one of our citizen members as a vice chair, but that has since been voided since we figured that out.
Thank you, Ben. I was present for this one, it just wasn't registering. Yeah, so we just wanted to have a discussion with council about this rule and kind of the newer participation of citizen members and how that's going, and if we should amend.
And I think, I don't want to speak for the other members on CACP, but I think we did discuss that having someone chair a committee may not be a great idea because they're not an elected official, and they do, chairs, participate in the CIP committee. So I think in general we were not in favor of a community member serving as chair, but we were a little more neutral about the vice chair. So we thought, since we, had a conversation, we should maybe bring that back to the council just to see. I don't know that we have to act on it this evening. I think everyone has been, the committee appointments have all been done, but just maybe food for thought. We can leave it as is, or, have a discussion at a future meeting. But it was just, we wanted to bring it back since it came up in the committee.
I actually think it's an item that the CACP should probably take a look at. We've also, in public safety, one of our citizens was nominated as a vice chair as well and was approved. So we refuse acting illegally. I guess I know it's not illegal,
right?
Inappropriately. So yeah, we'd like to see this addressed again. And frankly, for me, I mean, I was concerned about this when we first set this up, but as long as, like you, I agree that the chair has to be one of the council members, but the vice chair, I'm more neutral on now. I mean, I don't really see a problem with it.
Would anyone be opposed to amending to allow vice chair to be a community member?
Well, before you do that, you have to consider something else. That if the chair is not available for a CAP meeting, for whatever reason, the vice chair takes over.
Right.
And then you're right back to square one.
Yeah, and that's, I mean,
good point.
I would be all for that, but yeah, making budgetary recommendations as a non-elected official, I think it puts, well, it puts the community member in a precarious situation.
Yeah.
And, I guess I don't want any bad, I want to protect the community members from that as well. You know, there's certain responsibilities being an elected official, and to put a community member in that position, I don't think is fair.
So Regina, are you saying then that you feel you should leave it as is?
I do, just
Okay.
because of the budgetary aspect of it, I really don't want to put a community member into an uncomfortable position if the chair is not there, and they are then having to make budgetary decisions when that really isn't their role. That's council's role.
And I think Alder Lagaki had a comment.
I agree that having there's two aspects to this for me, and for those reasons, I'm wondering, do we want to send it back to CACP for them to discuss and perhaps think about language that reflects both issues? It might not be possible, and they'll say that after consideration, but I am hoping, one, maybe we could at least somehow elevate the natural skills and talents of some of these very great community members are coming forward. And we saw examples of that tonight throughout many presentations. So perhaps we could have something to the language that honors the CICP or the CIP budgeting process, that they couldn't serve in that way, but perhaps they could serve in leadership fashions of the committee itself. I don't know if that's something CACP wants to take, but boy, anything that can help elevate the skills and the talents of our citizens, I think that will only increase our people coming in and getting more active.
Yeah, I think we could take it back and discuss it again to see if there's anything creative or on certain committees that we might see a different solution. But thanks for everyone's input. I do think we should leave the chair and vice chair as a council member, and then CACP could take it back and discuss it again to see, with that feedback, if there's anything else we want to bring forward as a proposal.
Yeah, I agree. And not looking at the exact wording on CIP appointments, I could see another option being if the vice chair is a citizen member, is not a member of the council, the chair could appoint a council member of the committee in their absence, something like that. I think that could be another option.
Yeah, we'll add it to the agenda. Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
I don't have any other comments in the room or hands up at the moment.
I don't see anybody else online. I think thank you for bringing that back up. I think it's a good discussion, and anxious to see what you guys come up with. I think that concludes our very long evening of many presentations and 17 business items. So guess there's just one last item, and I know Greg is probably going to jump on that. So
Who, me?
Move to adjourn.
Oh,
move
Ben
to
beat you
adjourn.
to it.
I'll second.
to
Oh,
adjourn.
Ben beat you. Ben beat you there,
I'm
Greg.
tired. I'm tired, Greg. I gotta
Somebody
get out
beat
of
me
here.
to it?
Oh,
Yeah.
you were not pacing yourself.
Yeah. All right. So motion by Ben, second by Greg. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
And thank you guys for sticking with this very long evening.
Meeting is adjourned.
Take care.
Night,
night.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Stay well.
Bye.
Good night.